Alright, so this review will be for Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1. I would not consider myself a hardcore Trek fan. I have seen all of the movies from the motion picture to Generations, and then I've seen the new ones, but I haven't seen any shows. And of course, Star Trek has many shows. I have not seen the original show with William Shatner, but I've heard really good things about The Next Generation. So I wanted to start with that. I just took some notes as I was watching each episode, so I'll just read the notes that I wrote down because, yeah. So let's start with the Farpoint Encounter, which is the pilot episode. It's like a two-parter, so put together. So it feels like a movie. It's very ambitious with its tone. It introduces Q, which I've heard about, but I didn't really know what he was. And it's really interesting. It almost feels like a movie. The direction's a little weird, but it's a good first episode overall. And then we have The Naked Now, which is the episode where everyone gets drunk because of a virus. And what did I say for this one? Basic pandemic virus episode, not unlike something that would happen in an episode of Stargate SG-1 or Stargate Atlantis. There's also an episode apparently that was very similar on the original Star Trek show. So it's fairly routine stuff. Moving on to Code of Honor. My friend who recommended this show doesn't really like this episode, but I like the overall the message of the honor can be switched with pride or ego, you know, like the downfall at the end. He's like, oh, I still have my honor, but, you know, what does that mean? And I like that Natasha got some more screen time and stuff to do with that duel, you know. All right. The Last Outpost. Yeah, this episode, I really dug this one. The huge backstory is a nice propelling mystery. Also, first sight of the Ferengi. Had some Monty Python vibes near the end there, but the overall story was cool, and it gave Riker's chance to shine. So yeah, I remember this one. This one was very atmospheric. Let's see, Where No One Has Gone Before. This episode was a delight. I like the horror of going too far, coupled with the Prime Directive's mission of boldly going new places. There's some really nice high-end sci-fi concepts. I really dug this episode and sort of thought the reality plane thing was interesting as well. Next one, Lonely Among Us. Two bickering alien races was the most interesting part of the show episode, rather than the electrical current being. Not a memorable episode besides the cool alien designs. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, the aliens were cooler than the electrical thing. Justice. I like the concept of this episode. The world building, but the initial conflict and resolution was weak. I was hoping they would sort of find a nice legal loophole to get her out of it, but it kind of reminded me of Logan's Run or the 1960 Time Machine aesthetic. I was hoping for like a sort of, you know, the rules don't apply to this person because he was never told of them, but they're like, ignorance is not an excuse, which is a little weird. So, you know, that's what I felt about that episode. The Battle. A revenge-laden story with a lot of mystery. It takes too long to get there. I like the shades of gray with the Ferengi able to dispense justice on their own. They're given some more. We get to see the ship and things like that. Nice backstory for Jean-Luc as well, but a tad underwhelming. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hide and Q. I love this episode. Cool to see Riker in God mode, but also the weird beast soldier scenarios. Remind me of the episode of Futurama with Melthar, Q as a dramatic antagonist, and the themes. Yeah, I remember this one. This is a good episode. Haven, a Deanna Troi episode that has a relatable character in the form of her mom, but not much else is memorable except a very early appearance of Rob Nepper as the love interest. Yeah, this one was a very standard one too. We get a little bit more, you know, I love character-driven episodes, and this one introduces, yeah, Deanna's mother, but you kind of can guess where the episode was going by the end. Because, you know, they're not going to marry her off and leave. It's season 1, you know. All right, The Big Goodbye. The first holodeck episode gets its first real episode, but also the trope of becoming real with the sort of, you know, oh, the holodeck has become real, safeguards are off. Probably set the stage for hundreds of similar stories or influences about a game world that goes real. Not that enjoyable of an episode due to the quick resolution, but I like seeing Crusher and Jean-Luc have some shared screen time. Yes. All right, Data Lore. Excellent episode, a classic episode in my opinion. nice Data-centric episode that you get to have that backstory. You get his origin, his creator, his brother, and gives more great acting from Brent Spiner in the twin roles. A little bit of a rush ending, but very action-packed and very suspenseful. All right, next, Angel 1. This episode obviously influenced Amazon Women in the Mood, the Futurama episode. Nice to see Riker in player mode and good stakes and morals. Yeah, I remember this one. This was like a better version of Justice, This one had the high stakes of someone dying on Alien World, but this one felt a little bit more, less, 1960s. It felt, a little bit more modern. I liked, yeah, this one was definitely much better than Justice. 1100-101. This episode was alright. I liked the sci-fi elements, but the Binars weren't the most compelling story. The holodeck stuff was really interesting. Yeah, I remember this one. This one was a very tad underwhelming. Yeah. We do get an introduction of the self-destruct sequence of the Enterprise, though. That's cool. That's probably a setup for another episode. Yeah. Season 2 short. Didn't care for this episode. The acting from the guy was very hammy. There was a nice shootout, but overall the overarching story wasn't that engaging. Oh yeah, this is the one where the guy is older and he takes that experimental alien treatment to make himself younger to do face one last battle. Yeah, this episode was just really weird and all off. It's very quick resolution. Hostages weren't even shown once for budget reasons maybe, but yeah, I didn't dig this episode. All right, next, When the Bow Breaks. Yeah, classic episode in my opinion. Really great threats, moral questions. Let's see what I said. Gets straight to the point immediately, doesn't slow things down, and plans things out to be this huge opposition against the Enterprise. It's similar to the Justice episode, but with a way better antagonist. Yes, and a really great ending too. A really mysterious thing, what happens when people sort of just fall in line with greater power and energy that they don't know about. That was a good one, yeah. Coming of Age. This was an excellent episode. It's a nice setup of future episodes instead of just a weekly adventure. Wesley gets some good mind-bending character development. Yeah, some of those scenarios were crazy insane. Like, who comes up with that stuff? The episode doesn't really have any conflict or like battles or space things, but it doesn't need it because it's got a lot of character development. You don't need to have anything super grandiose because of the characters, Wesley gets his time to shine with the tests and everything, and they also introduce a couple other characters in Starfleet. Heart of Glory. Damn, this episode was intense. Nice character development for Worf. His backstory is revealed a little bit. The episode's also well directed with the close-ups and has some extra oomph. Yeah, you can tell the direction's really intense like that. This is the close-up scene of him, doing the shout and everything. Yeah, this episode definitely had tighter direction. You can tell the difference between this and like, say, episode 1. Okay, Arsenal of Freedom. This one was an action-packed episode with less sci-fi themes, but there's like some sort of computer system running amok, but it has some good character moments for Geordi and some new faces. Also real stakes with the good doctor be getting injured. Yeah, this episode was more action-packed, it felt like just like a thriller, no need to have like sci-fi, but there was still some sci-fi themes about the whole, technology is so amazing that it wipes out its creator. And, it had that interesting, sort of, good scenes with Natasha and Riker going up against them. Next one, Symbiosis, a very preachy and heavy-handed episode. It's not without good merit, however, because even if you've never been enthralled by addiction, or most people know of its nature or know someone who has been, it's good, a moral story, but the episode's very dated. It's the equivalent of Picard not taking his son to go get high. Yeah, that's pretty much what this episode feels like, especially the elevator sequence at the end. Very on-the-nose dialogue. Skin of Evil. This episode really upset me. I didn't like the vagueness of the villain, too many power levels, and obviously the beginning of the episode crushed me. Yeah, I really liked a certain character and a good role model for young girls. And yeah, it crushed me because of that. But the rest of the episode was pretty boring, you know, like, especially that ending. I was hoping for a different kind of resolution, but the creature was really just felt kind of like bland, you know, like, he's like, I am evil for evil's sake, you know, you can't defeat me with photon torpedoes or anything, and just leave it there. All right, next, we'll always have Paris. This episode is boring and I don't want to talk about it. Conspiracy. Wow, this episode was a bombshell. It goes from zero to outrageous, giving amazing visual effects. It was scanners before scanners. It was Pulp Fiction before Pulp Fiction. Badassery from Jean-Luc and Riker. It wasn't very subtle in the actual problem of the conspiracy itself, but the, you know, it's old hat, but, you know, this takes place in the 80s, so it's very creepy as well. Full-on horror episode. You know, I was not expecting that reveal. I wasn't expecting any of that, because the show is not like that. The show is kind of like, we need to de-escalate things in a very calm and normal manner, because we are Starfleet. And this episode was like, screw that. Sometimes you have to, you know, do things you don't want to. Let's see. Neutral Zone. The actor, the annoying one, was also in Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. He's a good actor because, you know, he's always playing that same role. And there's some nice juxtaposition between the old Earth and the 300 years, you know, the shock of it all, and we get that first good Picard monologue. And other than that, though, it's a meh episode. You know, you get the Romulans and you get to see them, but yeah, it's I consider Conspiracy to be the real season finale. So that's what I feel about Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1. You know, you definitely have your good episodes and your bad episodes, but yeah, overall, it definitely interested me. I usually give any television show the first 3 episodes to hook me. If it doesn't by then I abandon. So I'll definitely be continuing, and I'll do the reviews in the same format. I'll do notes for every episode, no spoilers, and I'll just, you know, give my overall take and continue from there. Those are my thoughts on Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1.